us about what you were doing.
So I opened my mouth 2004, we fast forward 2009, start a movement, start hitting the streets, travelling the UK, covering all these gangs. So in every speech I'm giving, I'm saying they're raping our kids. Our banners said our daughters are not allowed me. Now we were drawing the attention of the world. As the English, we become a household name. We've done pretty well for a group of lads from Luton and a bunch of working class kids. We brought the issue to the forefront. Now if you draw a graph, which I've done, you can show the arrests. So Muslim Pakistani groups raping kids. The arrest goes like this. 2006, 2007, it's a straight line. 2009, English Defence League forms. 2010, 2011, it's an upwards path. So, and I used to say this at the time, look, they're not addressing us, the government, but in corridors of power, behind closed doors, they can't be ignoring this. There's 10,000 of us now, and we're hitting the streets. And they're constantly, so they realised, we've got to do something here. Yeah, and what comes out? Fast forward to 2014. Now, in 2014, there was a government report, an in-depth investigation in a town called Rotherham in the north of England, and a report comes out, and everything I've said, and everything we said, is in this report. 1,400 children raped in the small town of Rotherham at the hands of Pakistani men.
In one town?
In one town, in a 14-year period. So the charity, because when the children were going for charity help and counselling or rapes, it was all being lodged. No one was being prosecuted. Now, what the report finds is that the police knew, the council knew, the government knew, but they didn't want to do anything because they didn't want to be deemed as racist.
Or Islamophobic.
Because all the victims are white and all the groups of men are Muslim, Pakistanis. So this hits the headlines. And then at that point, the first trials start happening. And in these trials, we find out, for example, in Rotherham, now this is the figures that I have to get these. Maybe if you're watching all my interviews in America, I'm doing all of this. Because Rotherham has a 3.7% Muslim population. There's not many there. Yeah. Now, 1,400 children raped in Rotherham. There's another town called Telford. I've done a 5-part investigative documentary series in Telford. You can watch it. It's called The Rape of Britain. And you can watch it at trfilms.co.uk. You can see my 5 series. They're all an hour and a half.
Good.
We tell the story of a survivor. So I went to Telford and I spent 12, 18 months meeting a dozen or more girls. And these girls have survived the rapes. So in Telford, I'd sit the girl down, I'd interview her for 3 hours, 4 hours, sometimes 3 times, 4 times. And I built a database in our investigation. Now, the police investigation in this town found 1,000 victims. 5 are dead. Some of these children burned alive in a small town. So I focused on this town because this town has a 1.7% Muslim population.
Small.
America has a 1.7% Muslim population. Yeah. So 1,000 victims. The police investigation identified 200 rapists in this small town. So when you take the Muslim population in that town and you get rid of the women and you get rid of the children, there's roughly 1,000 Pakistani men. The police identified 200 of them. So 20%. Our investigation identifies 264. It's 26%. Since then, an inquiry's been done by a solicitor's firm that identifies over 300 men. So what we're taking is the facts are 20 to 30%
of the Pakistani men were rapists.
Were raping kids. That's what we know. Yeah. So and this town has a 1.7% Muslim population. Then in my investigation, what we find, and when the men are named by 3 girls or more that don't know each other, then they're in my documentary. I go and find them. I go into their companies, their businesses. They're all living good lives. They've all got sports cars. They're drug dealers. They're gangsters. They're mafias. They control the town through fear. And they've only 1.7. They control the whole town. They control everything. No one can mess with them. Yeah? The level of violence they use, they're mafia. And these gangs, what we now know, which I knew the whole time, but what's been proven now is that Telford, Rotherham, Rochdale, Oldham, Newcastle, Bradford, all of these towns, 85 linked towns, every town that has an Islamic community has these gangs. And they're trafficking the girls from one town to another. They're literally taking people's daughters at the age of 12 and they're taking them. And nothing was being done. Now, one town without a police response to these crimes could be seen as a police failure, weakness in a town. But every town in Britain with the same MO, the same gangs, and the police not acting on any of these crimes. In fact, In the city of Manchester, our second city, it's the northern capital of the UK. It's the London of the North. Now, and the figures again. So Manchester had the bombing from the Ariana Grande concert, which was when Salman Abedi, a jihadist who could recite the Quran without looking at it, because we get told they're not Muslims, so he knew the Quran, yeah? He could recite it without looking at it. He blew up 26 children, 2017, I think. And again, to an American audience, if we would have had the Trump-style ban that he brought in 2016, if we'd have had that in the UK, he wouldn't have been able to go get the bombs and training in Libya, yeah? But we didn't have the ban because everyone's too scared about being labelled. So 280 citizens have died in Europe because we failed to have the same ban. Now, the ban wasn't a Muslim ban. It was a ban saying that we don't share intelligence, we don't have security services embedded, we do not share a government relationship with these nations. They're dangerous nations. We can't just let anyone freely come and go. Yeah? It's a sensible ban, okay? But that, they called the Muslim ban, they attacked Donald Trump with the media all over the globe. He saves your country, saved your citizens. You need to realise what they're doing here, yeah? So...
But I still want to get back to you were speaking publicly at one of these trials. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
I was speaking publicly. From the minute I opened my mouth in 2009, 3 weeks later, my house was raided. I was prosecuted. From the minute of 2009, Bob, till now, there's not been one period in that time that I've not faced prison. I've not had one moment to relax. I face 10 years now. On October 26th this year, I stand trial with a maximum sentence of 10 years imprisonment. I got off this year of 2 cases, thanks to Elon Musk. I got off with a terrorism charge. This is, do you know the Patriots Act? They weaponise the law and they fire it at you. That's what they've done to me. So rather than tackle the jihadists and the gangs and all these, they decided to tackle the people talking about the gangs. So you're right. The problem starts getting raised by the English Defence League. Now, this is why I become an enemy of the British state, because in all these towns and cities where there's been a cover-up, the people who covered it up have elevated through the positions of power. Yeah. For example, Rotherham, the main town, the 1,400 children, the police officer in charge at that time who allowed this to happen, well, he's now in charge of counter-terrorism. Counter-terrorism come from me. Yeah. So all these people, they're looking at it. Remember, there's been a successful campaign to hide this crime for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And along comes this me from Luton Town and a group of men who won't shut up. What are they going to do? They're going to shut me up. So they use the police, they use the law. They come for me. Now, in the first couple, when they decided they had to start prosecuting these gangs, in the town of Telford, that had 200 men, they only prosecuted 11. So America, don't kid yourself that this problem's been dealt with. British audience, this has not been dealt with. They're arresting a handful in each town. It's like a gesture. We're nicking some. Yeah. So, and these men, the rapes, so you understand the sorts of crimes they were committing. A little girl, age 11, 12, hot iron rod, letter M, heated up, and they scolded her bum because she's properly Mohammed. Other girls, they nailed their tongues to tables. This wasn't about sexual gratification. This was about the destruction of a generation of Britain's daughters that was allowed to happen. The crimes, Dr. Bob, do you know, in the Rotherham report, again, you don't have to take my word for it, in the Rotherham report, the government report, the inquiry, 2 fathers whose 13-year-old daughters are being raped in a home by 6 men. They go to the home together to get their daughters back. The police turned up and arrested the fathers. They nicked the dads. They let the girls be raped. They took the dads away in a car whilst their daughters are in a house being raped. Another case, just in this one town. Remember, every town has had these crimes. Just in this one town, another girl was murdered. They messaged each other the day before saying, I'm going to bury that kafar bitch. So these are hate crimes. These are religiously motivated rapes. And they murdered her, yeah? But a 12-year-old girl's being raped. The police turn up in a derelict building. Police turn up in a derelict building, and a young child is being raped and abused by 4 or 5 men, yeah? They arrest the child for being drunk and disorderly because she's under the influence of drink and drugs. Because they've drunk and they drink them, they give them drink, they give them drugs, so they're literally paralysed, and then they just rape them in their dozens. So, but this led me to I continued, and other people had tried to talk about this issue before, but when they got beat down or labelled or attacked, they disappeared. We come along and we didn't back down. So our motto with the English Defence League was death, prison or glory, we won't submit. That's what we said. We're not stopping on this. Yeah? We want these crimes dealt with. Now, from the first case, what they did, they have to prosecute them now. So they're prosecuting them. And then it's coming out in the media. So we're understanding what these men done. We're getting to hear. We're getting to hear that the details I've just gave you are coming out in court papers. Yeah. So
this is what time? What time
is the first cases, I'd say, maybe 13, 14, I'm guessing, 2000. We started in 2009. There might have been a couple of arrests in 2011. They started arresting them, but the trial started really happening 2014, 15, I think. So then we're getting the details. So what did the government do? They decide, everyone's talking about it, everyone's hearing it. So then the next level of the cover-up comes in. So they put reporting restrictions on any of these cases. So the case might go on for 6 to 8 weeks. The media would usually report every day. Now they're gagged. Everyone's gagged. So you can't report on it. You literally can't. And then when they get convicted, you get 1 day's media. So rather than having 6 weeks media and everyone talking about it, the trial will go on for 6 to 8 weeks and you get 1 day's news and it will say convicted 20 men for these crimes. Then it's gone again.
No discussion, yeah.
Right? Now what they're doing, so I went, there was a case up in Leeds and I'd gone to work. Now I looked into the judicial rules and the law. Now a judge has power to put a reporting restriction, but not on information that's already in the public's domain. So I drove up to work that morning. I'm a journalist, but I was a street activist, just to let the audience know how I developed. I was a street activist holding protests on the streets. 2014, I realised that we took this as far as we could take it. I guess we are alienating some people because on the streets there were some clashes, and we need to win the hearts and minds of the British audience to understand what's happening. And I realised that it's through this, yeah. So I become a journalist. I thought I need to show you at home what I've seen. I need to take a camera and bring you with me on a journey. Yeah? So I become a journalist with Ezra Levant from Rebel Media. And Bob, I'd never met you, yeah? But
at that time, yeah.
At that time, I'd never met you. And I believe you supported Rebel Media.
That's
so Rebel
right.
Media.
Specifically you.
Yes, I didn't know this, so I'd never met you.
Specifically you.
Okay, so Rebel Media, and I was on a wage with Rebel Media for my journalism, which I earned. Yeah, I was good. And I started going out on the street, and Ezra Levant, this is what we need to do now. But Ezra Levant created me, yeah, in the sense of journalism.
Yes, he gave you credibility.
He gave me credibility, but he also told me how
to be a journalist.
How to be a journalist. He paid for legal meetings for me to learn, yeah, because I was a street activist. I'd never studied in any of this, yeah. I hadn't studied in it. Mm-hmm. So he helped me, and Ezra really guided me. And Ezra, I ended up working for him, then I left him, and he described me after I left him as trying to put lightning in a bottle. Because Ezra was trying to protect me. Yeah. I didn't want protecting. Yeah. In the sense that he might have wanted me behind a desk, and I'm like, I need to be out on the street, like with my camera. But in hindsight, well, I was battling against it all the time. But when I left, and years later, then I realised
he was smart. He knew.
Yeah, but I think, and I still thought all that. If you worry about consequence, you'll never bring change.
Right.
Yeah. So sod the consequences.
Yeah. Full speed ahead.
We're going in. Yeah. So I go to a court case. I stand outside, and Muslim men are walking into court. Now, this is the end of their trial. The jury are out. So I can't influence anything here. And all I asked the men as they walked in is, how do you feel about your verdict? And I get asked this every time I go to court. At which point, and there's no mainstream media there. So these men, no one sees their faces. Now, the reason this is important is these men are on bail for some of the most heinous and devastating crimes you can ever think of. Torture of children, 100 children
and
raped.
they were on bail.
They're all on bail running chicken shops still in the towns. So one of the cases, and this is what I got penalised for, my first case, I found out that a young girl, 13 years old, was drunk on a Friday night and she got lost. So she went into a kebab shop, a Muslim-run takeaway, and asked for directions. They took her up to a room and all 6 of the staff, think about this, all gang raped her. She was found wandering, crying. Now, the police went and raided the property, found all of their DNA matches, but they gave them bail. So I heard this. I went to the business down in Canterbury. I looked at the shop and it's changed its name. So I looked at the ownership. Once they got arrested, they just changed the name of the business. They're still running the business. So I stood outside and watched school children going into this business. So I'm watching thinking, no one in this town knows what they've done. They're all on bail. They've got their DNA. Why are they on bail? Why are these kids not being protected? So I went to the courtroom the next day because the men were going into court and I wanted to get a video of them. Yeah, but the judge heard I was at the court case, so she kept them inside and you let them use a fire escape. Now, every time I walk out of court, I have to get photographed, but she let the child rapist leave through the back door. I went home And at 4 o'clock in the morning, my door come through and I got raided by the police. The judge had ordered. So there's a rule in British courts called contempt of court, which doesn't mean trial by jury. It means the judge has ultimate power. And if she wants you and says you've done something wrong, there's no argument. Yeah. So I was taken to court. I explained to her, now, the rule at the court, which I wasn't aware of, which is when Ezra put me on the training course, is if you step on the court property whilst videoing, you're not allowed to do that. So they took me to court and I said, yeah, I did do that, but I videoed myself. And then she gave me a suspended prison sentence for 3 months and said, you're not allowed to do that. So I then went on a training course with the best law firm in London to know what am I allowed to do, what I'm not allowed to do. Which is where I found out a judge has no power to put reporting restrictions on information already in the public domain. Now, this is actually on the judiciary's website. Yeah. So I got up to report in a case in Leeds where it's from a city called Huddersfield, where 30 men are on trial, Muslim men, for raping over 100 children. So as the men walked into court, I asked them, and I made a video explaining to British parents, I made the point clear, because you're not allowed to assume guilt either as a journalist. So I said, these men may be innocent. Let the jury decide. But here's the allegations. Here's the men's names. Now, here's what they've done, alleged to have done. And everything I said was in the public domain from the first day they turned up at court. So I'm outside court and I see the judge at the window. And then...
Same lady, same judge.
Another judge.
Yeah.
So Judge Marston was his name. So the police come, they detain me outside court. Now, as they're arresting me, I'm live streaming. And at the time I'm saying, for my cause, yeah, I want every British mum to see how they rape kids and what they do. So as they arrested me, I said, 5 million are going to watch this video now. Yeah? Millions are going to watch it. Okay, so arrest me. But they arrested me for breach of the peace, they said. Now, they get me to the police station. I'm expecting, I haven't breached the peace. Yeah? Then they said, you're getting transferred to court. So I said, what for? And they said, contempt of court. So I get taken before the judge. I don't get asked if I'm guilty or not guilty. The judge stands there, 13 months in prison. I'm like, what for?
What was the claim?
The claim was I breached the reporting restriction. Now, just so people understand, in contempt of court, say there was a famous racial murder in the UK from a black gentleman called Stephen Lawrence, who was attacked by a group of white men who stabbed him to death. It was the most high-profile racist case in our country's history. Yeah, probably in one of the world's histories. Yeah, Stephen Lawrence was his name. Now, a reporter called Rod Liddell breached a reporting restriction. In that case, he got a fine. No one in the history of the UK has ever been sent to jail. And in fact, it's not the journalist who gets prosecuted, it's the company they work for. So I was working for a company that day as a journalist. They bypassed all of that and they sentenced me to 13 months in prison. So 2 hours later, I'm in the prison cell.
Wow, without any hearing, without any opportunity to argue against it.
Nothing.
I never heard of that.
Nothing.
Never.
And do you know what the judge done? He put a reporting restriction on anyone reporting that I was in jail. So luckily for America and Canada, because word spread from the UK, he's missing. They took him off the street. Where is he? So then I've rung home when I got my phone call, said they gave me 13 months. So then Canada and America start reporting that I've been sentenced to 13 months in a silence trial. So a Free Tommy movement banged on the street. 30,000 marched on Parliament. I'm in prison. I don't know any of this that's going on, really. And but they give me 13 months. It took 12 weeks. I was on solitary confinement. They moved me from a 5% Muslim population in the HMP Hull to the largest Muslim population of any prison in the country.
Like a death sentence. It's a death sentence.
Well, the previous year to this, in 2011, I got put in a cell, had my teeth knocked out. I was violently attacked. So this time, I believe the 30,000 that took to the streets, I believe the attention this case garnered in America, Australia and Canada kept me alive because they transferred me there. But I think they would have realised on the streets, if he gets killed in here, this country's going off. So I think they realised, and I remember writing a letter out to the public saying, you've just saved my life, because they were handing me to them. Now, once they put me in this only, they then put me on solitary confinement. So I was locked the entire time on my own, locked in a room, not allowed out. Yeah. So, and this had a devastating effect on my character, on who I was. I went into prison one person, left another. Now, after 12 weeks, we got before a high court, and I was released from prison because everything they'd done was unlawful. It was illegal. Now,
and you can't collect based on that?
No, they done me, no. So
in the US, you could collect.
Oh, so what they done is they released me from prison. Now, the day that he sentenced me to 13 months in prison, that Judge Marston, he let the rapist go home One of them packed their suitcase and went to Pakistan. He's never faced justice. So I was the danger. Me, with my microphone. I was the danger, not the rapists.
What a story
They were all
this
on bail.
is.
So
What a story this is. So you were in solitary confinement, which is good. At least you're safe.
Yeah, it's not good. I think I'd rather have a fight every day.
No, yeah, I can understand.
Because of the effect it had on me. I struggled massively coming out of that prison sentence. I struggled massively.
How long were you in solitary?
Only on that one, 12 weeks.
12 weeks in solitary confinement for maybe breaking some rule and a judge says contempt of court, no trial, no attorney on his side to argue the case.
No due process.
He doesn't even know why, what contempt of court. 12 weeks in solitary confinement.
And then I come out, and I knew straight away my profile from this case had gone through the roof. The public were outraged. Yeah? My reach, I had the largest social media reach on Facebook in the UK. My support, 1.2 million supporters. When I went live, I had 40, 50,000 people straight away. So my reach now for my cause and my journalism went through the roof. Now, when I come out, I found out that Panorama, which is a BBC investigative journalist documentary maker, it's the best of the best in the UK. When they do something, it's real, yeah? They're the ones that Trump's about to sue for doctoring his speech on January 6th to make it sound like he was encouraging violence. They doctored what he said. But I come out of jail and I find out that they're working on a documentary called Tommy Takedown. So the government were obviously worried by my influence at that time. They'd lost control and lost a monopoly of power through the mainstream media and the new media, Facebook, social media. People, we were bypassing them. I was talking on this and reaching you sat in your lounge. So people could see I wasn't what they were saying I was, as this far-right extremist. So I come out of jail and 660,000 people signed a petition in the UK to have me released from jail. So there was a big feeling about this at that time. So I come out of prison and I find out that everyone I've ever had an argument with, ever fell out with, or went to school with, this investigative documentary was contacting. So they're trying to get dirt on me. So I thought I'd test how much they investigate. So I sent a girl undercover into them. Now, what I found, this again, I sent the girl undercover and Panorama were trying to find me. So she spent a few weeks meeting them. We video all of it. I go meet her. What did we get? What are they saying? What are they planning? Do we know what they're doing? She's like, and she didn't like me. I sacked this girl. But she come to me and said, look, they've come to me. They want you bad. They want me to say anything. She was offered £5,000 to make allegations against me, sexual allegations. So she said, they're coming for you. I don't like you, Tommy, for our fallout with work, but this is outrageously wrong. So I said, okay, will you work undercover? Will you go back to them and let's test them? Let's see what they're up to. So I sent her back to them. And I sent her, first of all, what I did is I went on a website with her, because remember, they want me. And I said, picture this. I'm at home in bed, sleeping. This girl can say anything she wants. They're going to air it. So there's a website called sendafaketext.com. So she sends herself a text on the computer, looking like it's from me, saying, if you work with Panorama, I will bury you, you bitch. So I made the point, listen, lads, I'm at home in bed, right? Let's see if they even check if this is legal or legit. Yeah. So she sends herself that, then she goes back to them. Now, they're chasing me for an interview for their documentary that they've been working on about me. So I say, okay, I ring them. I say, I'll meet you tomorrow. You have to meet me in this location. I remember the day, it was my daughter's school assembly. And I was so nervous and so scared because if Panorama make an allegation against you, and I knew what they were progressing and trying to do, it would have ended my life. It would have ended my marriage. It would have ended my kids' life. They'd have been ridiculed throughout school as their dad. They were trying to create a Harvey Weinstein figure. So that's what they were trying to do. So then they come and meet me the next day in this venue, and I've put a screen on the wall behind me. So he's sitting there, and John Sweeney was his name. He was the best journalist for BBC. He was the face of this show. And all the producers are sitting over there, and they're all watching. And I just asked him, before we start this interview, because I don't trust you, would you ever tell anyone what to say about me? And he said, no. I said, are you sure? And if you did, if someone sat someone down and said, say this, say this, say this, that wouldn't be journalism, would it? And he said, no, of course it wouldn't. So I just said, press play. And on the wall behind me, the video of him telling someone, what I want you to say about him is this, this, and this. And if you say these 3 things,
we'll pay you.
We'll put them on the screen.
Yeah.
We have a deal. So as he says deal, I repeat deal about 5 times just looking at him. We have a deal, deal, deal. I said, so there you are, John, making deals with people to lie about me. Would you ever make sexual allegations against me, John?
Never, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Press play. And what the girl goes to him and says is, so we sent her to him, and she says, I've got an argument recorded that I had with Tommy Robinson. He gets really aggressive. And he says, what's the argument about? And she says, oh, it's just about work. He says, what does he say? And then she says, oh, he's swearing at me. And he says, yeah, look, listen, what we're doing is we're making this into a sexual thing about Tommy Robinson. And she says, but I'm screaming at him. She says, don't. He says, we'll cut that. We'll cut that. And this is all on camera. I've got it all.
Perfect.
I've got it all. He's banged to rights. And as this is going on,
she had a
button camera.
Yeah.
His producers, they've all got their heads in their hands. We videoed everything. So the imagery of them, they've got their heads in their hands. And then I go on to prove he's racist, because he was racist in the undercover footage. He was homophobic in the undercover footage. He was literally everything you could think about the BBC. And this is their flagship programme. So you can imagine how upset they're going to be. Because this programme was to end me, and they're famous for covert recordings. We spun it full 360 on them.
And you had your own people recording this whole thing.
We recorded the whole confrontation.
Wow, that's gorgeous.
And the whole time as I'm confronting him on his lies and his stuff, he's reaching for his pocket. And he pulls out at the end, well, you text her saying you're going to bury her. So I just looked at the camera and said, I told you. Didn't even investigate it was fake. They would have took anything off anyone that doesn't like me and broadcast it to the world for you.
And say it's true.
And also at the time, this is the craziest part. So Media Matters in the UK, in America. No Media Matters?
I do.
They're like Hope Not Hate in the UK. So I've done a full investigative documentary on this group. It's great, and I've proved how they work. So what you have, the BBC can't pay you. The police can't pay you. So in steps a NGO, funded by George Soros, this one. And what they do, so 2 of my old employees, they were blackmailing them. So the NGO comes in and blackmails them. Now, when my old employees, when we worked for Rebel Media together, when we left Rebel Media, these 2 employees, I didn't know, but these 2 employees went to Hope Not Hate for money to try and bring down Ezra Levant at Rebel Media. So they were working with the far left against the right-wing commentators to bring them down. I didn't know this. But when I come out of prison, one of them was still logged into my computer. So I had his emails. He's meeting Hope Not Hate. So I'm looking thinking, what's going on here? So then I confront them and record it all and say, what's going on with Hope Not Hate? And they said, they're blackmailing us. Because we gave them information when we left Rebel Media, they've been blackmailing us, and they brought us to sit in front of Panorama, and they were making us say stuff. So I've got all these recordings. So when I sat down with John Sweeney, the BBC, I asked them, whose documentary is this? And they said, it's ours, the BBC. This is the first question. So I already got them banged to rights. It's yours. Are there any other organisations who are directing this? And they said, no. But I had a message from Hope Not Hate to someone else saying, we're directing it. And then I had them blackmailing my colleagues, old colleagues. So then I asked them, who was present in the interview of my ex-employee? Because what Caelan says, Caelan's my old employee, and he says, Hope Not Hate set him down. The BBC are there. They made him say things, and he didn't say enough lies about me. So then they take him outside and they threaten him that they can have him prosecuted. Because Hope Not Hate have got government, high-ranking police all on the board. So they said, we can get you put in prison if we want. You either sit in there and tell us what we want told about Tommy Robinson. So this would be people close to me telling stories about me that would then be produced to the public as facts.
That's true. Yeah.
So this is, and the way, so to get round BBC, to get round the legislation or the laws of funding or paying people to lie or blackmail them, they use these NGOs.
Sure.
And then they they create the source. So as I say to all of them in BBC, would you be working along a far-left organisation to make a BBC taxpayer-funded documentary that's supposed to be revealing the truth to the public? And they said no, so I just said press play. And then I asked them all again at the end, answer the question, simple yes or no. Were a far left extremist organisation present during the interviews of my old employees? Were they? And they're all just looking at each other. And then it's like...
Now, you don't have a case against the BBC
So
for this?
I made this into a documentary, yeah?
Okay.
And then I premiered it outside the BBC's offices to 10,000 people, and it had 2 million views in 48 hours. Now, after those 2 million views, I was removed at the same time off of Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat. Everyone there is deleted me. PayPal, MailChimp, a coordinated removal to make me invisible.
Invisible, yeah.
And if you shared my name on Facebook, yeah, they delete you. So they put me on the same level as a Serbian warlord who killed 5,000 people in one day.
Wow.
Because there's an interview with one of the CEOs of Facebook talking about me, and the Danish politicians are questioning him because Danish politicians shared my story and they deleted their accounts. So Danish politicians summoned the CEO and said, "What's going on here?" And they said, "You're not allowed to talk about Tommy Robinson or share his content."
Whoa.
He's on the same...
Okay. So many details.
Yeah.
What a complex life. Now, So what drives you to keep pushing on these issues, despite all this backlash from both the ultra-left and the followers of Islam? What drives you to continue to do this?
I know what the future looks like if we don't stop it. So I had this difficult conversation so many times with my ex-wife saying, this isn't about our 3 kids. It's about their kids and their kids and their kids. Now,
somebody's got to fight.
And if someone's going to fight, I'll fight, not my son.
Yeah.
I don't want my son to fight, do I? That's why I'll fight.
So tell us about the financial and emotional costs that you and your family have suffered because of your insistence to continue on this campaign.
Again, the problem that they have, when I say they, I mean the powers that be, the establishment, the cabal, whatever you want to call them, is I'm pretty good at my job. I've become a very, very good investigative journalist. I've made some incredible documentaries. So that Panodrama was, I'm not just saying it, it was a takedown of the BBC that's never been done. So that's why they erased me, yeah? And they deleted me. But moving on from that, the attacks continue. I continue my work, but I'm deplatformed. So some of the most important work I've done, do you know how disheartening it is? I had 172 million people reach in 4 weeks. In 2018 or 7, when they deleted me, that was my reach. That was on X, on Twitter, and I had 69 million video views just on Facebook. So I was changing opinions. I was reaching the masses. Then I was made invisible. And not just made invisible, when I made that film, they deleted me from everywhere, and the Attorney General come back. What I got released for a year before, that case, they re-prosecuted me. They changed the prosecution to say that when I approached the Muslims, I caused them fear. They put me back in jail. They gave me 9 months. They took no jury, okay? They offered me a deal to plead guilty. I refused it. Yeah? They said I can go home if I plead guilty because they wanted to prove that their unlawful imprisonment was lawful, so they needed a guilty plea. So I said, I'm not pleading guilty. I go to the highest court at the Old Bailey of London, and I produce all the evidence to the top judge to show that actually everything I've done was lawful. Now the judge kicks it out to the government. He kicks it out. Yeah. So I come out of court. There's a famous video of thousands outside court where I walk out of court. Famous for me anyway. I walk out of court and we beat them. Yeah.
So the judge, when you say kicks out, he kicked out
he said, I'm not,
their claim.
He said, this is ridiculous. Yeah. He said,
wow.
So what they done is, this is no joke, they removed the top judge. They replaced the top judge with the first female judge, yeah, Dame Victoria Sharp. Look this up. They replace it with another judge. They take me back to court again in front of her, and she gives me 9 months in jail. She gives me, so
this is in England?
No, this gets worse. This gets worse. But the reason why you in America need to understand this is what we get onto now, after this, is another documentary I made, which I've just come out of an 18-month prison sentence for a film. Now, this film, I got covert recordings again, and I proved unequivocally the corruption of the judiciary. Now, I call it the unholy alliance. It's the alignment of the government, the judiciary, all of them come together, the far left groups, and it's the lengths they'll go to control the narrative. And this doesn't, I speak about Islam, but if you speak against transgenderism, if you speak against the vaccines, we now realise it didn't matter. They come for you. It's all these things are weapons of a totalitarian state. America got to see it with what they done to Donald Trump. Now, if they can remove the social media of your president,
right,
if they can use the BBC to make it look like he's calling for violence, if they can prosecute him through the courts and put him in politicised courtrooms with politicised juries, if they can do that to the most powerful man in the world at the time, what do you think they're going to do to a kid from Luton Town? A working class kid, who speaks the way I speak, walks the way I walk, has the history I have. What I mean is I've never been an angel. I've had fights in my youth. So I'm not from one of the highly educated schools. They can do what they want to us, yeah? And I've shown that. But the problem they had in 2024 is Elon Musk picked us back up. Elon Musk brought free speech back. So when Elon Musk turned on my X account, I was abroad, living abroad. I was defeated.
And why? How did he happen to know about you? A lot of people had Twitter accounts that were closed. So, but why you?
I think I've always been seen since the start of my activism. If someone can put people on the streets, it's me. I've proved the tests with the public. I've been to prison. I've been attacked. I've stood my ground. I guess working class people see me as one of them because I am one of them. I've experienced the same problems as them. I'm from the same area as them. I'm not a politician from a middle class background trying to lecture them. Yeah, I'm from Luton. I'm from the same background. So I think they saw that. So the government, that's always put fear in the government, is I managed to galvanise people and bring them together. So remember, I'd learned a lot as well. I'd learned about. I felt 2024 comes and I've done my apprenticeship anyway. Yeah, I've done my apprenticeship in street activism, journalism. I think I'm the best, if I'm honest. Yeah, there's no British journalist who can put the documentaries together the way I do on the issues I do and have the access I do, because people won't talk to journalists, but they'll talk to me. Yeah, I can get the access and I can tell you.
Give us a little bit of background how you pay for all this. I mean, you got to fly around the world. You got to talk to people. You need a camera crew.
Do you want to know the best thing, Bob? The story out there is that you paid for all this.
Well,
that's the story, Bob.
Well, I'm happy to say that I have helped. There must be other people too.
No, but the story was, so but even at this point, so I'd never met you. I'd never actually had any money from you, yeah. But the story was that I work for Mossad, yeah. That's what the story.
Well, that's because I work for Mossad,
okay.
And therefore, I recruited you.
And and we'd never met, so that was the story. But we worked off and by the left. This story is pushed by the left. It's pushed by the Qataris, pushed by the Iranians, because what it does, it prevents the public from wanting to support our campaigns,
right?
Because then we don't get support.
Right. You have billionaires behind you, so I don't need to send in $20 a month.
That's it.
But that's not the case.
No, it's been pretty successful, though. They've been pretty successful. This is what they've done. And then because, see, I don't really care in the sense of I stand truth to power. I say my opinion. So I've continued on when October 7th happened, the next day I was deplatformed. And I remember watching the video have 2 million views on X. And I just made a video as I'm walking along the beach saying, bullshit. Hamas are ISIS. This is who they are. This is what they believe. This is what their manifesto says. Final day of judgment. So I knew all this. So I've never backed down from that, but the criticism come from that. So this is all going on. 2024, I'm deplatformed. I'm pretty broken as well, if I'm honest, Bill. I'm pretty broken. I mean, not in the best of places. You know, I just told you as I come in here, I don't have a drink. Back then, I think I self-medicated, and I was in a bad place. I'd had to leave my home for a court case. I'd been made bankrupt. They took me to court. They hit me for £1.3 million. So I was broken, divorced, bankrupt, isolated, deplatformed, debanked, everything. I'm sat in Spain, and I remember my mate. I've got a very good friend called Liam Tufts. And I was going through a bad time, man. And he'd fly out and he was babysitting me. He'd fly out and spend a month with me, just picking me up, making sure I'm in the gym, making sure. And then it's like, I feel now, it's like every time I'm knocked down, something picks me up. And at that moment, it was Elon Musk. I'm there and my phone's turned on. My ex is back. And for me, you've got to reach the public. So my ex is back. October 7th's happened. They've took over every university. They took over our capital city. I then said, right, let's go. The fight's on now. Yeah, we're back. And it weren't just me that was back. Katie Hopkins was back. Lawrence Fox was back. Carl Benjamin's back. These are all characters who in their own right have rose to the top of their game through being brave and fearless, and they've been attacked. So all these people don't agree on everything. So I flew back to the UK and I called a meeting with 15 influencers, and we spent 2 days in a room in the hotels, and I said, our culture's going, our country's disappearing. Now, if we try and start a political party amongst us, we haven't got any money. You need hundreds of millions, and it's going to take 10, 20 years. Yeah. But if we change the culture, we're going to change the politics, because these are all cowards in Parliament. When they see the mood of the nation, they just ride it. They don't change the Overton window, they ride the Overton window. Right. Yeah? Once it's shifted and once people like us have moved it, they then start talking. So we need to move it. Yeah. So we brought these people together and we worked on 5 value system. We started at 10. And the importance of it was that this wasn't going to be my cultural movement. And I looked at Jordan Peterson's group and I met with Jordan Peterson. And Jordan Peterson has been pivotal, as has Elon Musk, as have many people, in bringing me in from the dark, at the time. Jordan Peterson sat me down and let me tell my story. It got 4 million views. People viewed me very differently, But what I did is, he has a group called ARC, which is about culture. But any cultural revolution can't start with the educated. It has to rise from the streets. So we had a meeting. We represent... Now, I'm still banned at this time on YouTube, but I've got X. But he's not banned on YouTube. She's not banned on Facebook. So we all got together and said, right, if we agree to work together, we can press a button and reach the whole country. We're bigger than the BBC. Us 15. Forget what they've done to us. We now can come together. So we wrote down 10 values and we got it down to 5, which was, this is Judeo-Christian values have built this nation. We've got to go back to them. We can't, we're lost. We need to go back to what built it. We need to focus on it. We need to focus on free speech. We need to focus on against mass immigration. We need to focus against Islam, because Islamization of our culture. And we need to stop the LGBTQ plus indoctrination of children, sexualization of children in education. So we all agreed.
Is that the Advance UK Party? Is that...
No, Advance come out of this. But this was what we were going to call this was the pledge. We wanted everyone to take a pledge of allegiance to these values. We don't care about the rest. So then we didn't want to be political. We didn't want to. We want to be cultural. So my movement wanted to unite the kingdom. So we come up with the name Unite the Kingdom. And again, people see me and I take credit for this. People give me credit. This wasn't built by Tommy Robinson. This was built by a coming together of people, which America, you need to do the same. Forget what you disagree on. There's so many egos in our movements. Everyone's got an ego. I've got an ego. All of us got an ego. So when you try and get these people together, it's very hard. But if you just agree on 5 little principles, I don't care what you think on this or you think on that and this, what we disagree on, who cares? We agreed as a group on these 5 values. I then approached the police, and the police know if I call a demonstration, young men are coming. So I explained to the police that we have been at loggerheads with you for a decade now. And I think that it's been manufactured, a lot of it. So
they were told to do that.
And so,
in their heart, they're probably with you.
Well, this is where it's gone now. So I sat down with them and said, lads, I can call a demonstration on the same day as a pro-Hamas rally. You know I can. And I can get thousands of young men to come here, and men from around the country, tough men. And it can end in clashes in the capital. I don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. But what we want is the same recognition that Black Lives Matter had. We want the same rights that all these minority groups have had. So we as British people want to celebrate being British. We want to do it in a cultural festival celebration. And we want you to respect that. We don't want your riot shields. We don't want your bands. So we will police ourselves. So we're going to ask to work with you. And if you don't respect what we're doing, I'm then going to challenge these Hamas supporters in East London on a Saturday. If one thing goes wrong, lads, but this is our bargaining chip. We want to come. Don't draw your battens on us.
This is the Unite the Kingdom rally?
This is the first ever Unite the Kingdom rally.
Perfect. You did last year. Tell us.
The first one happened on 30th of June. 30,000 people turned up. We had a black gospel band from the church. We had a priest. We changed it from being against something to being for something. Rather than coming out angry, we come out with smiles, flags, celebration, culture, music, art, everything that we are as a nation. Everything that's in danger here. And you know what? They've broken us. They've broke our community. They've broke our resilience. They've broke our togetherness. So the first thing we said is, in the crowds, look at the man, woman next to you, embrace them, hug them, give them a hug now, shake their hands. These are your countrymen, these are your brothers and sisters. We're going to build a brotherhood here, and we're starting today. And then from the 30th of June, we also televised it, but this was the winning factor. What we did is we sent invites out to 25 or 30 young TikTokers and YouTubers. The mainstream media were ignored. Go away. You're not relevant anymore. You're done. Yeah. You are fossils. You don't realise that you're dying. You do not realise where this heads. And we are now the media. So as we had 800,000 people watching live on X. God bless him, Elon Musk for this. And as we had them watching live, I got all of these TikTokers. We gave them their own VIP pen, the YouTubers, and we gave them access to interview everyone that was there. And then we got them up on stage one by one and told them to tell the audience who they are, so that they can get follows and get shares. And we told the public watching this, get behind these kids. Yeah, we need a new media. Get behind them. They're going on the street. They're live. We went from 30,000 to our next event on the 27th of July. Once we showed the public who watched at home, 800,000, that you can come to London, you can celebrate culture, and you can do it safely. Now, we chose, away from any Muslim communities, away from any controversial areas, we chose in the centre of our parliament to do this. So it could be safe, so that our supporters, because we want their safety, could come. Well, on the 27th of July, 100,000 people turned up. Now, 100,000 people turned up and had the best day ever, celebrating who they are. It was beautiful, and I felt something happening. I could feel it in the air. You could feel it in your arms. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. 28th of July, the next day, I get detained under Terrorism Act. Now, we put the fear of God into the government.
Let's jump to the September.
So September,
Unite the Kingdom rally.
So we go from 100,000. I'm then, in the middle of this, I'm sentenced to jail for 18 months for making a documentary. So they sort of end the momentum of the movement. I'm sentenced to jail. I spend 7 months on solitary confinement. I walk out of jail in May this year. May the 25th, I walked out of prison. So I went into prison and left prison without seeing another person, yeah? Spent 7 months sat in a room. I walked out, and the first thing I done as I walked out to the camera, I said September 13th. You've seen, so the film that they sent me to jail for totally exposed corruption. If I share it now, I'll get another 2 years. So I have a lifetime injunction, but I broke the injunction on the 27th on the 27th of July, when we had 100,000 people in Parliament. I aired a film and showed a film to the crowd that I was banned from showing. The judge told me you get 2 years if you ever show anyone any of these recordings. So I thought, well, these recordings are far bigger than me. It's not about Tommy Robinson. This shows how the courts are weaponised around the West. Now, you know Gert Wilders.
Yeah, sure. Good friend.
So any person that has stood up against mass immigration from any political party in any European country, just Google their name, and I challenge you, look at court cases. So Gert has faced relentless court cases. Salvini, who's now Deputy Prime Minister in Italy, he faced 6 years of court trials to clear his name. Morten Messerschmidt, leader of Danish People's Party, he faced court cases for years. Look now, Marie Le Pen, banned from standing, court cases. So lawfare is a weapon that's used when they can't stop you. Yeah,
right.
So I had this grenade in my pocket, which was my film that I'd made that proved all this. But I had a warning from a judge that I get 2 years in jail. 27th of July, I fast forward a bit and cover it quickly. Yeah, I air the film. So I play the film. I leave the country. I then come back to face the music, and I'm in prison for 18 months for that documentary. I went before a judge. They're not angry with anything that's in the film. Nothing's not factual in the film. It's all covert recordings of teachers giving evidence, telling that they were paid to lie. All this mad corruption from the judiciary, from all of it, all coming together to tell this is the case where I got bankrupt for 1.3 million. So I prove unequivocally, there's no grey area, I told the truth. And I was sent to jail for 18 months for telling the truth. But they thought they were putting me on trial. But I thought, in my mind, I'm putting them on trial. So I played the film thinking, go on, come and get me. Because if you put me in jail, the world watches the film. Now, that film went to 167 million views. It grabbed the attention of Elon Musk, Bob. That's what got Elon Musk. Elon Musk watched the film. And then he shared the film and pinned it, saying, free this man now. Free this man and replace him in prison with all the fraudulent people. He told the truth. Why is he in jail? Get him out now.
Wow.
So that... He then funded my legal teams for the next 2 cases they hit me.
Oh,
we won both of them.
Fantastic.
We won both of them. And the judge ruled that I was being targeted for who I am and my politics. That's the judge's ruling. Like, no doubt, they target me for my views, yeah? Which is where we're at in Britain, by the way. It's where you were at as well until you've elected Donald Trump. So the film comes out. I walk out of prison, and 167 million people have watched this film. The whole country watched it, yeah? Elon Musk watched it. Many Gert Wilders shared it and watched it. Many political figures across Europe shared it, saying, what's going on here? But I walk out of jail after 7 months, and the first thing I say is, on September 13th, we mobilise again. They think they stopped this. They've not stopped it. You your country.
Fantastic.
And then
what a set of balls you have,
millions
Tommy.
turned up, Bob. Millions.
Wow.
Millions turned up.
Wow.
And I knew they were turning up. So in my interviews prior to that, I said to people, the country's never going to see what's coming. That is
fantastic.
Cultural revolution. This is a cultural revolution happening now in Great Britain. It's happening. It's happening. People are scared. The same people that are scared are not scared now to speak. So,
Well, based on the success of that September rally last year, I'm sure that you're planning something even bigger and better this year. Give us a hint.
on May 16th, so we've done a 4-year vision. We believe in a 4-year vision for media, for culture, to try and... There has been a successful... The left, forget, they've had their revolution. We've been in the middle of their revolution for decades. They've successfully broke down borders. They've successfully destroyed nationalism. They've successfully broke the family. They've successfully broke the church, the values, parents, fatherhood. They've done it. Mm-hmm. They've been successful. Mm-hmm. What's growing now, last 2 years, you electing Donald Trump, not to save America, but to save Western civilization. We are the counter-revolution now. It's happening. And they can't stop it. So you can see that in Britain. I sense it. And I sensed it everywhere I travelled before that demonstration. So in the 3-month build-up, from when I got out of jail in May to September 13th, everywhere I went, people were going, Tommy, we're coming. We're coming. Our family's coming. So I thought, this is going to be huge. The whole country's coming. Like, nowhere I went. And the demographic has totally changed because everyone can see what I saw in Luton when I started talking in 2009. No one else could see. Now it's every town and city. This migration and forced migration, replacement, hotels, criminals, Afghanis, some of the rape statistics. Again, why is the country ready for this revolution? 90%, Muslim men make up 3% of the UK population. They're responsible for 90% of the groups of men that rape kids. 30% of the men convicted are called Mohammed. 63% of the rapes in Sweden, Muslim men from a population of 10%. 54% of the rapes in Germany, Muslim men. 77% of the rapes last year in Paris, Muslim men. Austria, 48% Muslim men. Whatever country you look at, men are being imported with a totally different value system. And America, you don't need to look to Europe anymore, it's Texas, right?
That's right.
They're trying to take the heart and soul of Texas. If they take Texas, they take the heart and soul of America. This isn't a mistake. They've chose Texas. The money's coming from Qatar, Iran, Saudi. They're taking the heart of your nation, yeah? You need to wake up. You need to listen to these warnings because we've lived it. But we have our next event on May 16th. Now, beyond May 16th, we want to replicate what we're doing in London, and we want to replicate it in Rome, in Paris.
Major cities throughout the Western world.
We want a Western civilizational movement of culture.
But Tommy, I really want to thank you for spending time with me today, and thank you so much more for your past and your continued efforts to oppose the growing threat of Islamization to the West at great cost. I admire you tremendously. Perseverance. Fight on.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. And we will fight on. And America, this is now, there's no borders for this problem. We all need to fight on. And America needs to prepare itself as Americans. You've got some brave congressmen. I've been surprised. I'm landing here and seeing how many of them are uniting together already to stop Sharia. This needs to come from the top, and you're going to have to get a grip of it before you end up like Western Europe.
If you want to know more about Tommy, here are some ways to keep up on his and his work. X is his most active account. Go to @TRobinsonNewEra, where he has more than 1.7 million followers. That was yesterday. It'll be more tomorrow. You can also watch his videos on YouTube. Just search for Tommy Robinson. And you can try Telegram and Rumble too. He's everywhere. Thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and we'll automatically notify you of future podcasts in this series.